Vertical Raise is the premier online donation platform, utilizing email, text messaging, and social media campaigns to exponentially increase the reach of your fundraiser. With detailed tracking and the complete personalization of every page, Vertical Raise provides an easy system that works. Our experienced representatives have made us the most effective fundraising platform available. We look forward to the opportunity in helping elevate your program to the next level and reaching your goals. Visit online or call today.
This is a QueenB Radio High School Sports Presentation.
QueenB Radio High School Sports Roundup presented by Vertical Raise Milwaukee. It's now time to talk about high school volleyball. Our last couple teams finishing up their postseason play. We saw the Cuba City Cubans fall in the Division III state semifinal this past Friday night against St. Croix Falls. The St. Croix Falls Saints ended up winning the Division III championship on the Wisconsin side, but we still have one volleyball team left, and that is the Galena Pirates. And our Platteville truther, Steve Prestegard, kind enough to join us as he's been following the Galena Pirates. And since we last talked about this Pirates team, Steve, they got a couple wins in the sectional final. They defeated Lena Winslow 2-0. And then the two-seeded Galena Pirates defeated Harvest Christian Academy in the super sectional 2-0, setting up an appearance at the state tournament for the Pirates volleyball team. They will take on St. Anthony out of Effingham, Illinois. And the other two teams in the Class 1A bracket, the winner will take on the winner of Hartsburg Emden and Cissna Park. So, Steve, a pair of 2-0 wins for the Pirates heading into the state tournament. They did have a couple scares in the earlier rounds, having to win in 3 sets. But talk about the last 2 matchups that they've had. Seems like this Pirates team is playing well against some pretty tough competition heading into state.
Well, most definitely. I think one of the reasons that Galena is the favorite, which may mean nothing, like Steve's high five, but one of the reasons I think they're the favorite is not just because of their record, but because they've had the most difficult path to get to state. In the regional final 2 weeks ago, they had to play Durand, which was ranked 4th in Durand in the regional final. And then they beat Newark in the sectional semifinal. They were ranked 7th. And then at Eastland last Wednesday, they had to beat Lena Winslow as in number 1 ranked Lena Winslow. And kind of interestingly, that in the all 3 matches, in a sense, that they played last week, the 2 sectional matches and the super sectional match, they were kind of the same match in the sense that the first set was quite close, and the second set was close for a while until Galena got on a big run and kind of that they were able to, take on. They made the number 1 ranked team in Class 1A look very tentative, and trying to avoid errors of that sort of thing. And Galena just went out and took them out, in the second set. Kind of a similar situation. Friday's weird part was that in the first set against Harvest Christian, it got off to a good start. They were up 4-2, and then there was this 5-minute break because one of the hole covers on the floor came up, and so they spent like 5 minutes like taping it and hammering it down. And as strange as that sounds, that kind of took Galena out of their rhythm for a while anyway. So the first set turned out to be closer, I think, than most people thought. But let's just say that order returned from the Pirates' perspective in the super sectional match. So in the second set of the super sectional. So if you look at it that way, and if you also look at the fact that the Pirates haven't been to state since 2018 in volleyball, but they're very familiar with Redbird Arena because they've been there in the past 2 state girls basketball tournaments. And, the captains on his team, Addie Hayful and Gracie Furlong, I'm sure they can tell you a whole lot about that building. So certainly Galena is counting on that to give them an edge on Friday when they take on St. Anthony's.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of confused earlier, where I confused the Galena Pirates girls basketball team for the volleyball team as far as returning to state in the intro earlier. But yeah, this Pirates team, I've had a chance to call a couple matches about 2 seasons ago when the team was poised for a deep postseason run. You followed them a bit last year as well, and from what you've seen, what is it that's been so consistent about this team, being successful and, having a very solid volleyball team in Galena? What have been the strengths of this team from what you've seen?
Well, first players, I mean, Furlong and Hafel, any volleyball coach would take them. But it's not just those two. Gracie's averaging close to 5 kills per set, and Eddie Hafel is averaging close to 4 hits per set or kills per set. But that's not all. They have a setter who is extremely steady. Merritt's averaging close to 10 assists a set. Interestingly, when Leah Heller, who is their libero, is serving, they've had these very long runs, serving runs, both in the sectional final against Lena Winslow and then Friday also. And for whatever reason, that rotation with her serving has taken a couple of teams in the postseason right out of the postseason. They've also got very good blocking up front with Maya McCoy and a freshman, Vea Hauber. So they're and they've had other people that come in and help a lot also. So everybody's playing well right now. That's basically what it is. And the postseason experience, which is not in volleyball, obviously, but certainly Dennis, because I asked him, Dennis Wells, the head coach, did say that he feels like the postseason basketball experience is going to help them. In fact, as he said, counting on that to happen. So all of that together, I think, means that, Galena probably is a favorite. They're, of course, the favorite in girls basketball and didn't win it last year. So there is that. And particularly in Illinois, when you only have 3 sets, not 5, you can, if you get off to a bad start, suddenly you're looking at, the looming end of your season. But Galena's dealt with that. They had 2 3-set matches in the regionals, and they were able to get through those. In fact, they were down 1-0 to Durant in the regional final, came back to win it in Durant. So I just look at Galena as just a very solid team that has big hitters, which is what you like, but also people who contribute on the other spots on the floor.
Yep, a very resilient team just from the results of the few matches that we've been able to cover during this postseason run. And coming up on Friday morning, they will take on St. Anthony. We'll have that match on Xtreme 107.1 Raleigh Cheese pre-match at 10 o'clock. The first serve set for 10:30. The winner of that match, again, takes on the winner of Hartsburg-Emden and Cissna Park. And then the loser will have a consolation match on Saturday as well. We will follow Galena for both matches, regardless of the outcome on Friday. But looking at the other 3 teams in this Final Four that's competing for the state title in Class 1A, Steve. First with St. Anthony, what are some of the things that Galena is going to have to try and manage and deal with? And then looking on the opposite side of the bracket, what do you make of the 2 teams that are going to be out there?
Well, as far as St. Anthony goes, Dennis Wills described them as kind of like Harvest Christian. They may be a team that did well in what wasn't a great conference, possibly, although their record is not as good as Galena's is, but it's, pretty good. They're close to 30 wins. They're actually at 27-7. They do actually, they're in a conference that has all other public schools, which was not the case with Harvest Christian. But they, it's a little difficult to find some information for St. Anthony's because they didn't bother to post any stats on Max Preps, which is what all the schools in Illinois are supposed to do and didn't in the case of St. Anthony's. So there's a little irritation factor there. As far as the other 2, those are interesting storylines also. Hartsburg-Emden has 64 students. That's it. So they're kind of the Scales Mound of girls volleyball at state, certainly. And then Cissna Park, the interesting little factoid about them is they're the last team that beat Galena That was in a tournament that Galena played at St. Thomas More in Champaign back on October 14th. I'm sure Galena would be perfectly fine with seeing them and a chance to, exact some revenge for that regular season loss. So, but as I said, if you look at the rankings, all of those teams are kind of in the teens as far as rankings go, according to Max Preps, and Galena is the highest ranking team that's left. So that makes them the favorite. Again, doesn't mean they're going to win it, but they certainly will be the favorite, I think, at Illinois State this weekend.
It should be fun. Looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out for this Galena Pirates volleyball team. Looking forward to hearing your call of that. Again, that'll be on Friday morning at 10:30. The first serve Raleigh Chiefs pre-match at 10 a.m. on Xtreme 107.1. And again, regardless of the outcome for Galena, we will follow the winner in the championship game or the consolation matchup. We'll have information on that on Xtreme 107.1, also x107.1.com and the Xtreme 107.1 social media platforms. Have some fun, Steve, calling that match and following that Pirates team. We look forward to talking about that on next week's show, as well as, believe it or not, high school girls basketball sneaking up on us for next week too. We got 3 girls basketball games coming up on QueenB Radio next week. We'll talk about those as well. Have some fun. And coming up next, we will have our preview of the Level 4 playoff matchups in high school football. Darlington taking on Kewaunee and Blackhawk Warren taking on Reedsville. We'll break all that down in a little bit. The QueenB Radio High School Sports Roundup continues after this on YouTube and SoundCloud.
Check out Supps.com. Supps is Southwest Wisconsin's go-to supplement store. Find all your favorite supplement brands at the best prices from local people. Fuel your fitness journey. Supps.com, your go-to supplement store with locations in Fenimore and Dubuque.
This week's highlight reel is presented by Supps.com.
2nd and 10 from the 17-yard line. There's that 3-receiver set that Josh says to the right. Straight handoff. No, he pulls it back. And now running with the football. Wolf, he gets to the edge. He's into the end zone. Touchdown. Nolan Wolf, a 17-yard touchdown run. And you can hear that big old sucking sound. Josh, that's the fake handoff to Alvarado and pulling it back. Wide side, the far side of the field now on 3rd down and 2 at the 10-yard line. Goebel, straight handoff and plunging up the middle and into the end zone. Touchdown.
Reagan Jackson's first carry of the drive takes it in for 6. The first defensive stop of this game.
Connor Larson is one of the return man deep to receive. Here's the snap. Back to Plessel, kicks it away, kind of a short kick. It's going to take a couple of bounces, and then played by the Redbirds. The ball is fumbled. It's rolling into the end zone, and do the Arrows have it? The Arrows have it! The Arrows have scored a touchdown on a fumbled punt.
What a turn of events. First defensive stop, and then the Flying Arrows able to convert on special teams from the punt.
Arrows going from, rather the Darlington Redbirds going from right to left. Here's a give, right up the middle. It's Reagan Jackson. He blasts his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Darlington. 3rd down and a yard. Inside the green zone. Brought to you by Bytech Resource Management of Monroe. A greener way. Goebel turning and giving. It's Ty Chris. He blasts up the middle. And he's into the end zone. It is a 5-yard touchdown run by Ty Chris. And the Redbirds go up 20-14. At the 1-yard line, the Redbirds break the huddle. And Goebel under center. He'll call his own number. He'll surge ahead, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown, Darlington Redbirds. That is a Northland Buildings touchdown. And it comes with 1:02 to play. 3rd quarter, and Darlington now up 27-14. Now, Darlington kicking off. Here's the kickoff, and here's
gonna
Benson. Benson running it back. Benson. No, instead it's not Benson, but running it back for the Lancaster Flying Arrows on the touchdown. It's Brennan Gildersleeve.
What a response by Gildersleeve out of nowhere. Wow.
Final snap, down to 35 seconds. Well, they're going to go up to the line of scrimmage and snap it one more time here. There's the snap, and that'll do it. It's Darlington 28, Lancaster 22. The Redbirds advance to level 4. And they go down to 11-1. And the Lancaster Flying Arrows, their season comes to an end at 10-2.
Another great football game in Southwest Wisconsin, Shane.
3 at the 26-yard line, far side hash mark, 2 receivers to the right side. And a give to Marty, and Marty has the room. He breaks it into the end zone for Northland Buildings touchdown. Boy, Lane Marty again getting the carry, gets across the goal line, a bunch of open space in the middle of the field. That is rushing touchdown number 20 for him on the season, and Blackhawk Warren on the board first, 6-0 with 2:20 to go in the first quarter. You're going to say the ball's at the 2-yard line, 10 minutes to go, second quarter. Blackhawk Warren trying to add on to their 6-0 lead. Schlemm under center, gives inside to Marty, and Marty does get across the goal line for a Northland Buildings touchdown. Lane Marty's second of the game, number 21 for him on the season, and it's a 12-0 lead for Blackhawk Warren on top of Potosi Cassville in our level 3 playoff in Division 7. Adams was able to get a gain of 2 on that play, sets up 3rd and 8, 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. Blackhawk Warren 12, Potosi Cassville nothing. Fishing dropping back to pass, looking near side, looking for Adams, has his high pointed and intercepted by number 8, Andrew Figge along the Potosi Cassville sideline. And that is a Lancaster Dental and Fenimore Smiles turnover, and Blackhawk Warren takes over with a 12-0 lead. 8:57 to go in the second quarter. Minute 5 to go until halftime. 12-0 Blackhawk Warren on top of Potosi Cassville. And a big 2nd and 1.
Did you see Sefruit out there? All of a sudden they're going and he's going in his hand right time to the music.
Schlemm dropping back to pass, has a receiver open, and it is caught! And he runs into the end zone for a Northland Buildings touchdown. That is number 8, Andrew Figge, bobbling the ball, but getting it into the end zone. And it is a 3-score lead for Blackhawk Warren, 18-0 with 58 seconds to go until the Peterson Agency halftime report. One receiver to each side, Sefruit to the left side, and Marty to the right. As Mahoney goes in motion, they toss it over to Sefruit, and he breaks loose on the far side, gets to the 10, and angles towards the pylon, and gets into the end zone. As the ball is on the near side hash mark. Frederick and Adams split in the backfield, post to the left side of the formation on 3rd and 17. Bishek gonna give to Adams. Adams looking for somewhere to pass, and he's gonna heave this one, looking for a receiver downfield, looking for post, and it is intercepted by Blackhawk Warren. As, hang on, both are tangled up, and that is number 8, Andrew Figge, coming away with the football, coming away with it at the goal line. So they go to the line of scrimmage quickly with 35 seconds to go. First and goal at the 3. Schlemm under center, same 3 backs as the last formation. And another give inside. This is Mosley, and he gets into the end zone for a Northland Buildings touchdown. Holiday Hawkins exit professional real estate in Monroe. As this is a pass over the middle, pass intended for Oyen in the end zone, but it's intercepted by number 8, Andrew Figge. That's his 3rd interception of the game. Another Lancaster Dental and Fenimore Smiles turnover, and Blackhawk Warren takes over with 9:25 as the clock continues to run. And boy, Blackhawk Warren, what a response. They lost to Potosi Cassville 41-20 earlier this season. That was back on September 30th, but just over a month later, Blackhawk Warren comes to Potosi and takes down the 3-time defending conference champion Potosi Cassville Chieftains 36-0.
Looking for a checking account with no monthly requirements or service charge? People's State Bank's People's Checking Account is just what you're looking for. This account includes free debit card, online and mobile banking, bill pay, and much more at no cost to you. You heard that right. No cost to you. We're your local community bank ready to serve you. People's State Bank. Member FDIC.
Back on the QueenB Radio High School Sports Roundup presented by Vertical Raise Milwaukee. It's now time to preview the Level 4 playoff action that we have coming up on Friday night. We had some interesting football games in Level 3 that we want to talk about, and I'm joined by the guys that were on the call of the two football games that we had on Friday night. Mark Evenstad and Josh Wiederholt had the call of Lancaster and Darlington, and Wally Troughton had the call alongside me for the Potosi Cassville Blackhawk Warren matchup that we had last week. But let's start with that very fun game that you guys had in Darlington. Lancaster taking on the Redbirds, and Darlington coming away with the 26-22 win or 28-22 win, beg your pardon, against the Lancaster Flying Arrows. And Shark, just kind of looking at, the scoring summary of the game, seemed like Lancaster and Darlington went, pretty much back and forth most of the first half before Darlington was able to get that 2-score lead, and Lancaster just unable to get back into it. But, my inkling was that, Lancaster had a pretty legitimate shot to go in, just based on the way that offensive line and the way that Peyton Alvarado's, played throughout the season. Not necessarily a rushing threat that Darlington may have seen, during the season. But talk about the way that the Redbirds were able to come away with the win and advance to Level 4 yet again.
Well, Lancaster did take the early lead in the game, but then you had Darlington tying it up, and then Lancaster was able to capitalize on a very rare Darlington mistake on special teams. They were trying to field a punt. The punt got away from them. It went into the end zone. Chaos. A lot of Lancaster players wearing white jersey tops and also the blue numeral and lettering. And it was hard to see who jumped on the football. We had to speculate. But when all was said and done, it was Samaje Benson who scored that touchdown. We misidentified who that was, but it was Samaje Benson who grabbed the loose ball and got a Lancaster touchdown out of that. And Lancaster then went up 14-8 in the second quarter, but Darlington tied it up, then went ahead, and they had the halftime lead. And then the second half, you saw more of what Darlington likes to do, and that's just simply run the football down your throat. They've got a very dynamic running game with Ty Christ and Maddox Goebel, and then Braylon Goebel, the quarterback. He is capable of doing some running of the football and gaining positive yardage, and he handles the football well too. With the fakes and a lot of the options, that type of stuff. So their offense looked in the second half to be just very consistent and somewhat dominant against the Lancaster Arrows Flying Arrows defense, which has been very solid all season long.
Yep, and Josh, we talked about, line play, for these two, the offensive lines and just the battle in the trenches. That was pretty much how this game was going to be decided. Is that pretty much what it came down to in your estimation?
Absolutely. And it was kind of crazy seeing one Lancaster receive the ball. I mean, Shark, and you might be able to back me up on this, but pretty sure Peyton Alvarado had 7-8 carries on that first drive, and the Lancaster offensive line looked like they were going to be dominant. And Darlington, they're not quite as big, but man, are they strong, and they can move, and made some adjustments. We kind of talked about it during the game where they had a game plan, the Redbirds. They wanted to keep the ball out of Lancaster's explosive offensive hands. And there's a couple times where they ran kind of a little misdirection and got the edge, and just up front, Darlington looked great and played. It was a great football game to cover, and kind of like we talked about during the pregame too, like what a great matchup for in the playoffs, like this deep in the playoffs, and kind of helping the build Coach Winker's legacy. And I'm sure, and if you're a Lancaster guy, no, there's nothing to hang your head about. Lancaster football doesn't rebuild, they reload. And
Yes.
and it's so awesome the games we've been able to cover this year, especially in Southwest Wisconsin. Like Darlington and Lancaster football are back, and what a great game.
I think Lancaster has to savor their last win of the season. They went out and dominated Kenosha St. Joe's in getting that victory 30-20. And I want them to hang their hat on that win and just carry that over from the off season into next season and see what they can do with that, because they really showed the likings of a team that's going to go a long way in certain years. If they don't go a long way in certain other years, that it's only because they just wasn't in the cards. But Lancaster really demonstrated that they can play with just about anybody with that win over Kenosha St. Joe's. And really, they played with a pretty good team in Darlington, a team that's playing for the state semifinal. So Lancaster, things are just completely looking up year in and year out in what is now the Jordan Rolland era.
Absolutely. And it's back. It's the handing over the torch.
Yep, absolutely. The Lancaster season, absolutely special. As we said, during the regular season, they were about, 3 to 6 inches away from being undefeated if that 2-point conversion is converted against Platteville. And we already, talked about, what a difference that would have made, as far as the playoff picture and stuff like that. But, we were saying leading into the postseason, we just hope that Lancaster and Darlington are on opposite sides of the bracket so that they could meet deep in the playoffs. That was the opportunity that happened, and it ended up being, a very well-played football game between two of the very best programs in Southwest Wisconsin. And for the third straight year, the Darlington Redbirds advanced to level 4. Their matchup coming up on Friday night on 97.7 Country WGLR and on the QueenB Radio Sports YouTube channel. The Kewaunee Storm coming to DeForest, a neutral site game for an opportunity to go to state. And Shark, you've had the call of those level 4 games that Darlington had a couple seasons ago against St. Mary Springs, a heartbreaker loss where Darlington jumped out to a 24-0 lead before St. Mary Springs was able to come back. Last year, a loss to Mondovi, but now the Kewaunee Storm are their opponents in level 4, and we kick this around during our football preview show all the way back in August. What is it that Darlington is going to need to do to push through and advance, beyond level 4? We know that they're at least one of the top 4 teams in the state. They've proven to be that, just, based on the results. But with the way that they've been playing, especially after this win against Lancaster, what do you think is going to be the key for Darlington as they take on this Kewaunee Storm team?
Well, they're just simply going to have to limit what Kewaunee does offensively. They're absolutely outstanding running back, and his name. Get out his name here. He has rushed for almost 1 million yards. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but Owen Carlson is the guy that they just absolutely have to shut down. 2,152 yards rushing. Guys, every time he touches the football, he gets a first down. I mean, that's the theoretical way that they are moving the football. Give it to Carlson, he gets a first down. But not just a first down, touchdowns. 37 of them this past season. That's just a whopping number in what was a 12-game regular season so far. Their quarterback, Thomas Stengel, is a pretty good athlete himself, too. Since they've been so successful running the football, they haven't had to rely on passing the football. But he has completed 56 passes and 95 attempts. So that's a completion percentage of 59%, for crying out loud. 12 touchdown passes and just 3 interceptions. So they don't turn it over. And Carlson has just been moving the chains and getting them into the end zone. Receiving-wise, Maddox Muller is their top receiver. He has caught 29 passes for 532 yards. So offensively, they are very solid. And I got to believe the same holds true defensively, because they have pitched shutouts in 3 of their last 4 ball games. When they began the season, they gave up a total of 6 touchdowns to the first 2 opponents, Kiel and Luxembourg Casco. But since that time, they've only given up 7 touchdowns all season. And again, 3 of the last 4 games, they pitched shutouts. So they're very solid defensively.
It's Kewaunee's first appearance at state since 2010, and it would be Darlington's first appearance since 2016. If either team, were to win, and both of these teams, just like Darlington, Kewaunee lost in level 4 last year. They lost to Aquinas. So, both these teams kind of expected to get back to this level, and both those teams are 1 game away from going to the Division 6 state championship game. We're excited that we have that game on QueenB Radio coming up on Friday night. Shark and Josh will have the call of that one on 97.7 Country WGLR on the QueenB Radio Sports YouTube channel. Go ahead, Josh.
And it might be one of those welcome to playing a Southwest Wisconsin football team. This might be a rock fight. And, and the saying is defense wins championships. And the Darlington defense all year this year has been absolutely phenomenal. Holding Platteville to a shutout, high scoring. Been great all year, and they look good up front. And I'll keep it brief. Defense wins championships. Let's go Redbirds.
And Josh, this Kewaunee team, for them, this will be their 10th state semifinal appearance since 2000. So they're used to this. They're used to getting to this level, but they have to kick the door open to get to the ultimate. And then their offensive line, Braxton Rhea, Tyler Schaefer, Kemper Robinson, Matthew Bader. They're all up front. They're all seniors, plus a sophomore, Mitchell Bader. They have been like road graders so far this season, blocking up in front of the running back that has starred for them, and Owen Carlson. I do recall Kewaunee meeting Lancaster in the state title game, not once, but twice. Lancaster won both those meetings in the early 2000s.
They haven't met the Christ boys, though.
Well,
and Busher, it'll be an awesome game up front, and Wally.
I just think, you look at it, they could be big and strong up front. But you know what? Darlington just played a team that was big and strong up front, and they handled it. Well, I'm looking to look at it from the optimistic point of view for Darlington. You've already handled that kind of a line last week. Now you're going to face another one. All you have to do is do the same thing 2 weeks in a row. Now that trying to make it sound simple, but I believe that that's where they can do it because they've been there. They've proven that they can do it. Why not do it again?
Right.
Josh, you had a chance to meet Ty Chris last week after the game.
Yep.
On the football field, he looks so much bigger than he is. I don't know if it's with the pads or whatnot, but he just looks like a big dude who's hard to bring down. But when he takes the pads off and he's talking with you, he's not that big of a guy, but he just seems to just run over people time and time again.
Exactly. See, we've seen this over the years with a lot of different football players. They play big. They may not look that big, but they play big. And that's the difference right there.
And in the weight room all season long. And like the point was brought up earlier, Lancaster's offensive line, unbelievable all year long. And I like Darlington's chances. The way they played against Lancaster, other than the first drive, man, it's going to be a good football game.
Yep, absolutely. Looking forward to it. And like you said, Shark, the 2 Bader brothers that you were mentioning, Matthew Bader, the senior, 6'3", 230, Mitchell Bader, the sophomore, 6'5", 270. Those are some big boys on that line that can open up some holes for that running game. And I'm sure some will say it's a mismatch on the defensive side. Others will say it's a problem. We'll see how it shakes out for Darlington coming up on Friday night. Again, Darlington taking on Kewaunee, Division 6 level 4 playoff. Some will say it's level 4. Some say it's a state semifinal. Either way, the game to go to state, it'll be on Friday night on 97.7 Country WGLR on the QueenB Radio Sports YouTube channel. State semifinal. Thank you. Yes.
I don't care what they call it. It's all the same.
And
we're going to be covering it.
the Kewaunee Storm, they were called the Kewaunee Indians as late as 2010. But then the school district received a complaint from the state regarding the Indian nickname, so they went to the Kewaunee Storm, and the Storm is going to try to play some havoc on Darlington's meteorology as much as possible coming up on Friday night.
You mean to say they want to rain on the parade?
They could.
I believe in defense. Back to you, Tyler.
Yes, exactly. All right,
Hey,
so
I look at Darlington to pop up the umbrella and stop the storm.
All right, let's move into our Division 7 matchup. But first, Wally, we got to talk about what we saw in Level 3 between Blackhawk Warren and Potosi Cassville, because of all the potential outcomes that that game could have had, I did not have a 36-0 shutout win for Blackhawk Warren on the list of ways that that game was going to go. Blackhawk Warren was dominant from start to finish. And for a Potosi Cassville team that got healthier as the season went along, they got Roman Frederick back from injury. They got Eli Adams back from injury. And for Blackhawk Warren to go into Potosi having lost a game to them earlier this season, I was not expecting that type of game. I don't think you were expecting that type of game, but what an impressive performance by Blackhawk Warren last Friday night, coming away with that 36-0 win.
I was very impressed with them. And what struck me as interesting, in when they played earlier in the year, the first half of that football game was dominant Potosi Chieftains, very dominant. In the second half, no. It was a lot more even, but I think, and I could be wrong, but I don't have it in front of me right now, but I think they outscored them in the second half. Blackhawk Warren outscored Potosi, but it wasn't enough because of the lead that was built up in the first half. I was expecting more like that second half where it was going to be really tight and both teams doing things, but yeah, we can talk about the players, but I'm going to say nice coaching job by Blackhawk, because they did some things different, and they took a look at what Potosi liked to do, and they said, we're going to take that away. And they did. Their defensive line, the job that they did in forcing, they ended up and they forced the Potosi offensive line not to be able to so they couldn't do what they wanted to do. And as a result, the linebackers for Blackhawk Warren took over the game. And that's really who won the game, because they shut everything down that Potosi wanted to do. Excuse me, one other person did shut him down pretty well, and that would be Andrew Figi. So anytime they threw the ball, it seems like he was there either to intercept it or knock it down. And what did he have? How many interceptions?
He had 3 interceptions. He should have had a 4th, according to Coach Braid and Figgy himself. Yeah. And so, I mean, when I think of it in those terms, I can kind of see why there was the big change in how the game turned out. I mean, Potosi wanted to run a sweep. All of a sudden, they couldn't get the guards out. The running back couldn't turn it in where he wanted to turn it in, was forced to go to the sidelines and then would take a loss. They try to run a trap. Ever get a loss on a trap? No. But you only make 0 or 1 yard. That pretty much shuts down the trap. And those are their 2 favorite plays. And then when they ran the waggle, if they were going to throw the ball, there was Figi. And if they wanted to run the ball, there was a linebacker right there. So that was a great job defensively. We can talk about their offense, but the defense is what set that whole thing up for Blackhawk Warren. Yeah, the tone of the game really, Blackhawk did get off to a good start. They had a 20-0 lead, and we thought Potosi Cassville might make a run at the end of the first half. You remember that last drive to end that first half, Potosi Cassville got to the 5-yard line and could not put it in the end zone in those 4 plays. And you could just tell when that 4th down conversion, resulted in 0 points for Potosi Cassville. Like, it was a completely deflated crowd. Like, the team just, felt completely out of it. And, for a Potosi Cassville team that, has been pretty resilient against teams like River Ridge. And, you just kind of felt like, okay, when is this team going to pick it up? And it was just for whatever reason, they just could not get things going. Just to put to context what exactly the Potosi Cassville run game looked like. On the game combined between Fishnick, Frederick, and Adams, 29 carries, 108 yards. That's 3.7 yards per carry. Both Frederick and Adams were averaging over 9 yards per carry on the season. I mean, that's a half, for either of those two running backs to just kind of get going. And, you mentioned Andrew Figge, Wally. Let's talk about Will Steets, number 66, and the way that he just completely disrupted, the run game. And if it wasn't him, it was Owen Sefrud on the other side, holding contain and, keeping that, the outside in check. And boy, it was just an outstanding performance on the defensive side of the ball. Steets and Sefrud doubling up, holding the running game in check. And then Andrew Figge, the ball hawk, just all over the football, getting those 3 interceptions and just neutralizing any offensive threat that Potosi Cassville had.
I know we looked at the idea when the game really was, we said it was pretty much over. This was the turning point. And we talked about it being the second half, right away as soon as Blackhawk Warren scored. And then we debated whether it was that 4th down or right in there, not getting in the end zone. But I think it was in the middle of all of that. I think it was maybe after 1st or 2nd down when they were down there, because I remember that 4th down pass wasn't even close. Not even close. Right. And I wonder if they weren't at a point where they were demoralized at that point, and really they probably weren't going to come out of there into the second half very high. Not when you've been shut down doing everything you normally have had success with. It's hard to get the kids to come back at that particular point. I don't care how good a motivator you are, and we know that Mark Siegert is a great motivator. It's just that was one time you just couldn't do it.
Yeah, just a really bizarre game, and again a result that we were not anticipating. To see Potosi Cassville have a running clock against them, against a team that they had already beaten earlier this year, is just a really weird way for their season to come, to an end. And, as we said, when you have your 2 running backs coming back, very healthy, and they were playing very well, in those postseason games, to see how that season came to an end was definitely a stunner, to say the least. And now the Blackhawk Warren Warriors will advance to take on Reedsville out of the Big East Conference. Reedsville undefeated on the season, 12-0. And, looking at, their team, Wally, like Blackhawk Warren, they're going to run the football. It's going to be, probably a pretty quick football game as far as keeping things going. But a lot of it is centered around their quarterback, Parker Maney, who running on the season, 2,000 rushing yards, 28 rushing touchdowns. And also noteworthy for this team, they kick field goals. They kick extra points. They got a really solid kicker on that team that might factor into this game as well. But really, a lot of their offense is going to run through Parker Maney, passing on the season for him. He does have 720 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. But just kind of seeing some clips of some of their previous matchups, Wally. The offensive line, not necessarily the biggest line that we've seen this season, but boy, are they able to open up some holes for Parker Maney to run through. They seem to be very efficient and very crisp as far as making sure that everything is timed right and that the blockers are where they need to be to make that running game effective.
Part of it has to do with their offense and how their offense is set up. For all practical purposes, they're an I team, except they don't have a quarterback. The quarterback is the back, as a tailback would normally be in the I. They do have another back that will be in the backfield, but what's he there for? He's there to block. That's what he does. And what they're doing is it's a lot like an I. They'll run through and they'll have the lead back, but they also have another blocker who would have been another back in the backfield, as well as well, two others that are out doing the blocking that you might not see otherwise. And that adds to that a little bit, where you can get a guy coming across and in a sense, you get almost like a trap block, or they can come across and you've got two guys leading through the hole and things like that. Makes life a lot easier for an offensive lineman. You can make a mistake and you've got somebody to help cover you a little bit here. That when you have a good, strong quarterback who can run the ball well and good, strong legs, you know, once he gets that hole, he kicks it down. He's not, he may have some decent size, but he's not slow. So he can get up and run. So that's one of the things that Blackhawk Warren has to deal with. It's that blocking pattern that I think could create some problems. But again, remember, these two teams know each other. They played, what was it? What did you say, Shark, 2 years ago?
Yep, 2 seasons ago in 2021, where Reedsville defeated Blackhawk Warren in Reedsville. This matchup going to be a neutral site game. Yep.
So I mean, I think because they're familiar with each other, the Blackhawk Warren coaches know what to expect and can help set up their defense maybe a little better than maybe they did 2 years ago. So it waits to be seen, but I'm expecting good things out of Blackhawk in this game. I really am.
Well, something that I will point out as well, just looking at Reedsville's schedule, these are the points that they've allowed in each game this season. 6, 14, 6, 14, 14, 28, 7, 7, 13, 6, 0, 0. I think that's good. So, you know, the offensive attack for Blackhawk Warren, they really have to, I think, get to a fast start, you know, as well. I think that's going to be one of the keys to begin this game for Blackhawk Warren on Friday night. They got to get to a fast start and really try and get their presence felt and really get that defense on their heels.
Well, they have to start fast anytime because let's face it, they run an offense that it doesn't allow you to come back from maybe being 2 or 3 touchdowns back because it's that split veer where they're running it off the guard here, off the guard there. They're running a pitch over there. Oh, all of a sudden this time, instead of running it off the regular dive, they're running it a whole lot out further outside. It's the same old all the time. And the difference is the fact for them versus some other teams that run something similar is they do it well. They do it very well. They do it often, and they believe it will work, and it does. I mean, how many years have we been seeing this same offense out of Blackhawk, guys?
Yep.
And it's worked every year.
So we will have Blackhawk Warren taking on Reedsville on Friday night. Wally and I will have the call at that one on Xtreme 107.1 and also on the QueenB Radio Sports YouTube channel. Raleigh Chiefs pregame for both our games at 6:40, kickoff at 7 o'clock. And before we wrap things up, guys, you know, we were talking about this before we came on and started this segment, that of all the crazy things that have happened this season, of course, it's Darlington and Blackhawk Warren being the last two teams remaining. And, you know, Darlington, I think, you know, we were kind of expecting it. You know, they've have the brand name, they've had the players, a lot of the players, you know, back from last year's team. I think the question mark really was, you know, going to be the quarterback play. But for Blackhawk Warren, you know, we were thinking, you know, with the, you know, 1,000-yard rushers that they had last year being completely gone, give a ton of credit to Desi Braden and everyone on that Blackhawk Warren team that, you know, like Josh just said about Lancaster, they don't rebuild, they reload, and they were able to certainly do that. And, you know, these two, you know, neighboring schools, they co-op for wrestling. It's like, of course, that's what would happen, right? Of all the potential outcomes, that's, you know, the thing that you can bet on. But I'll start with you, Shark, for the two games that we have, you know, coming up on Friday night. What's going to be the thing that you're looking forward to the most between the two matchups?
Well, I'd like to see the team that wins be the team that has either 0 turnovers or maybe just 1. I think turnovers they're just magnified in the postseason. So I think that whoever makes the fewest turnovers will win this football game coming up on Friday night. And I'm talking about both the Darlington game against Kewaunee and then Blackhawk Warren's game against Reedsville. Got to stay away from mistakes. And the one that does, I think, will be playing at Camp Randall Stadium next week.
Yeah, Josh, something you're looking forward to coming up Friday night.
Oh, we were kind of talking about it. Like, it's a return to tradition, I guess. I mean, look at the football that we've had in this area. I mean, Lancaster being great, Darlington being great, Potosi, Cassville, Blackhawk Warren, and then we had Mineral Point and Platteville having great seasons. And these games coming up on Friday, it's going to be a return to tradition. It's going to be a run-focused game, grind it out, and gotta love it.
Yep. Football in its purest form is what we're going to...
That's the way we play the ball. That's the way we play ball in this state.
Exactly. Yep. Wally, the thing you're looking forward to.
I kind of like where the comments are going on this, because I agree with Mark. Whoever is going to win is probably going to make the fewest mistakes. That's pretty traditional football too. And we're looking at teams here that don't make a lot of mistakes. And so they have to continue in that regard. It's still a game of blocking and tackling. And who does the best job of making those tackles? You don't miss the guy. You wrap him up and you take him to the ground. It isn't a matter of trying to wrap him around the shoulders and try to wrestle bulldog him down. I'm sorry, this isn't the national finals rodeo. This is high school football where you have to get him down. It's why I always like to have some guys in my linebackers and in my cornerbacks. I used to always like to find wrestlers to be in those positions because they understood what a double leg takedown was. And isn't that what you call a textbook tackle? I mean, those are things that you want to see, is that kind of thing. So many other things I like, and you talk about tradition. Tradition says an awful lot about Southwest Wisconsin football. When you take a look at what are these teams like? They're well coached. They have talent, and they're extremely physical. And I don't care which team you talk about in Southwest Wisconsin. You can talk about the team that didn't win a game all year. I had some guys tell me that they were shocked at how physical basketball was. Well, for a team that never seems to win, they are fairly physical. But then when you get to the Darlingtons, they're extremely physical. Blackhawk Warren is extremely physical. Lancaster is extremely physical. Platteville is extremely physical. You can see that around with these teams. So again, that's part of that tradition that you see. And they're smart kids. We don't have a lot of dummies competing down in the southwest corner of Wisconsin. These kids are good, smart athletes that compete very, very well. I'm really looking to see, as much as I'm an offensive guy, I'm looking to see good, solid defense. It's really what I'm looking for. And I know we're going to get it from both of the teams we're familiar with. It's just how good defensively are the other two. They can't be bad or they wouldn't be where they are. But it's a matter of how good are they against the offenses that they're going to see from here.
Yeah, and the thing that I'm looking forward to, the most is, you don't accidentally make it to this level. You have to be good. You have to be, well-rounded and sound in all three phases of the game. But I think really, in the two games that we have, and really this applies to any game that's going to be happening across the state on Friday night, there's a distinct difference between playing to win and playing not to lose. And there's going to be some critical play calls that, I'm sure that these coaches are just, they're losing sleep, that they're kind of thinking through every possible scenario, that could happen. What play call do we go with here if it's a 4th and 1, or do we, go for the 2-point conversion as opposed to the extra point, or, what happens after, what happens to the play call if there's a penalty or something like that. Just weird things like that coaches are going to be, emphasizing and what the play calling is going to do. There's just so many variables, and every single play, every single down, every single penalty, every turnover is going to be amplified just a bit more. And, this is, like I said, football in its purest form. The best teams are going to be going head to head in this state semifinal round. And boy, do we have, two very good games coming up on Friday night. Wally, as you said, for being an offensive guy, the game that we have features two teams that got shutout wins last week against very good football teams. It's going to be, knockout, drag out fights, and, leave everything that you have on the field. Don't leave any stone unturned. Leave absolutely zero doubt who the better team is, because the team that's going to win in those matchups is going to be playing for some hardware next week at Camp Randall Stadium. There is just no better setting, I think, besides maybe the state championship itself. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, no, I was just, you said it best. Waving. Yeah. Let's get some gold balls back.
Yeah.
Let's win. I'm out. Appreciate it, guys. Let's play some football. Let's get some gold balls.
One of the things I'm looking forward to seeing beyond what we've already mentioned, and I think you guys all will agree with this, who's going to be the player who takes it upon himself to play above and beyond where he's been maybe during the year. You guys didn't get to see this. Brad Richardson and I did a few years back when Belmont played Gilman up for a mythical state championship game. Mm-hmm. And we saw Riley Christensen put the entire Belmont team on his back and take him down to score the winning touchdown with right around 2 minutes to go in the game. That's one of the things, and we're going to see it from someone. Someone is going to do that. Can't wait to see who it is.
Absolutely. Should be fun again. The Division 6 Level 4 playoffs that we have on 97.7 Country, WGLR, and the QueenB Radio Sports YouTube channel. Darlington taking on Kewaunee. That game is in DeForest. Mark Evenstad and Josh Wiederholt will have the call of that one, and then Wally and I will have the call of the Division 7 Level 4 playoff between Blackhawk Warren and Reedsville. That'll be on Xtreme 107.1, also on the QueenB Radio Sports YouTube channel. Thank you to Shark, Wally, and Josh for joining me. We're looking very forward to seeing what the outcomes are of Friday night, and hopefully we can send a couple teams to Camp Randall for some state championship football coming up next week. This has been the QueenB Radio High School Sports Roundup. Thank you so much for watching along on YouTube and listening on SoundCloud. We'll have a brand new episode coming up next Thursday, recapping what we saw in the Level 4 playoffs, and we'll also talk about the outcome of Galena Pirates volleyball. And, oh, by the way, high school girls basketball tipping off next week as well. We're very excited to see the winter sports season get underway as well. We'll talk and preview high school girls basketball in next week's episode as well. For everyone here at QueenB Radio, I'm Tyler Dictanis. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for another edition of the High School Sports Roundup presented by Vertical Rays Milwaukee.